welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about what fall is like in the Amish community. So I came up with this topic because I was seeing everybody's fall activities and stuff on social media, and I thought to myself, why am I not more invested in the fall activities and all that stuff? And that thought alone took me down a whole memory lane. And it made me think about what fall was like back home. And I realized that my unpopular opinions about fall have everything to do with growing up in an Amish community. Now, it's not at all that I hate everything about fall. I do enjoy, the coziness of fall. As you can probably see, it is very rainy outside today. And I love rainy days. Regardless of whether it's fall, winter, spring, summer, it doesn't matter. I love rainy days. I love being inside and it's raining. And I also love the fall fashion styles. But I don't get the whole pumpkin patch thing. I just don't. And I think it has everything to do with the fact that I grew up with so many gardens. We had so many gardens. And guess who had to work in the gardens? We did. Day in, day out, we had to work in the gardens. And the gardens would be all summer long. We wouldn't just get to go in them in the fall. It was a whole season for us. So by the time fall came around, we were sick and tired of them. Or at least I was. I do know that some of my sisters actually enjoyed the gardens, but I did not care for them. Now in the spring, they were okay. Because, you didn't have to work in the garden all winter. So when the spring came around, you weren't tired of it yet. So it was okay, but by the time fall came around, the last thing I wanted to do was go into the garden yet again. I just didn't care for it. Where I am from, fall is one of the busiest part of the years. And that's just because we're trying to get everything out, whether it's from the field or the garden, before it freezes. And I don't think it helped that we lived in Minnesota. Because in Minnesota, by the end of September, it is already cold and you have to worry about frost. Okay, so I'm gonna try and paint you guys a picture of what fall looked like at home. The men were busy trying to get the corn out of the field, and oftentimes us girls had to help too. And as you all know, we didn't have any tractors or any modern farm equipment for that matter. So guess what? We had to husk all that corn by hand. If you have ever husked corn even just a little bit, you know that it's not easy. And it is very, very time consuming. And we had a big farm, so there was a lot of corn to husk. And by a lot, I mean acres on acres of corn to be done in a short amount of time. Usually we had about a month. And if we didn't get done before the snow started falling, guess what? We still had to husk that corn. The snow didn't keep us from going to the fields. We still had to go out in the snow. You just had to dress for the snow. And if you got cold, it meant you weren't husking fast enough. So you see what I'm saying? When I think about fall, I think about that stuff. The most corn that I remember husking in 1 year was 10 acres. Now I know before I was husking corn, they sometimes had around 19 to 20 acres, but thank God I never had to help with that. But still, 10 acres, it was a lot. And I'm glad that I don't have to do it anymore. And on top of helping the men with husking corn, we still had to get all the vegetables out of the garden before the first frost came in. Because if the first frost hit them, there would be no vegetables for us during the winter. So we had to get that out as soon as possible too. And again, living in Minnesota made that so much harder. Because you had to watch the weather really closely, even if you saw there was the slightest chance of a frost. Because if there was a chance of frost, we had to go out and cover the vegetables with blankets, with anything to keep the frost from hitting them. And we're a big family, so that meant having a lot of gardens. So that was a lot of stuff to cover. It was not fun. And once you got the vegetables out of the garden, what you couldn't eat before it went bad, or what couldn't be kept in the basement during the winter, you would have to can them. And that's a whole other thing that I did not care for. I just didn't care for. It's not that hard. It's just, I come from a large family, so we did a lot of canning. And oftentimes it just seemed that it was just never ending. And after 18 years of that, I got tired of it. And I still don't miss it. I still have no desire to can anything. Now, it would be nice to just go down to the basement and get stuff during the winter if you needed it, instead of going to a store. And to be honest, I probably wouldn't mind it since it's just the two of us, but a whole family like that, I'm good. And that's not all. On top of the gardens and the fields, we had a big apple orchard that had to be taken care of as well. And picking the apples was just a small part of it, because once we got done picking those apples, we would make hundreds and hundreds of jars of applesauce each year. And then we'd have to can that too. I know for us, we usually made about 400 to 500 jars of applesauce each year, so that's a lot. And then we would turn the damaged apples into cider, and then we use about 25 to 50 gallons of that cider and turn it into vinegar. And the rest of the cider we would can and have it with popcorn during the winter, which now that's something that I miss, because that apple cider with popcorn was amazing. But I'm also biased because popcorn is and will always be my favorite snack. And at home we would grow our popcorn, so obviously it was better than what we have here, but it works. And we're not done with the apples yet, because we still have pie filling to make, and we would can that too. And then sometimes we also make dried apples. Those we didn't can, those were just for us to snack on. And oftentimes my mom would actually put some in our school lunches for us, and we loved them. I still love dried apples. And the rest of the apples, we would wrap them in newspaper and keep them in the basement to eat fresh during the winter. So we have fresh apples all year round. I'm not exactly sure what the paper was supposed to do, but it helped a lot, because if they weren't wrapped, they would just go bad. And also, I do love the tree colors in the fall, but that did take some time to get used to, because at home we have a lot of very large trees around our house, which is pretty. But in the fall, as soon as those leaves started falling, it meant going out and raking the leaves. And we had a huge yard, and we couldn't wait until they were done falling, because having that many leaves on your lawn was considered messy. It's pretty for a little bit, but there was a lot of us, and we're always walking across the lawn. So those leaves are gonna get stumped down. So if you don't rake them up, it's just gonna be a mess, and it's not gonna be pretty anymore. Which means we constantly had to rake those leaves, and I got tired of it. That was a lot of work. And if it snowed before you got all the leaves, guess what? Now you have to take care of those leaves in the spring when the snow melts. Those leaves in the spring are gross, and they're hard to get to because they're all stumped into the ground. And if you don't get them for too long, your grass is kind of gonna grow out kind of spotty. So your options were raking the leaves in the fall consistently, or having to deal with those leaves in the springtime, which, trust me, as much as I hated raking the leaves in the fall, it was much worse to rake them in the springtimes. But yeah, I don't miss the falls back home. Now it might be fun to go do this like one day, but even then I'm not even sure, because a couple years ago I was missing the gardens, right? And it was around the strawberry season, and there's a farm close by us. So I went with one of my friends, and we went to pick strawberries. And 5 minutes in, I was done. I was ready to be done. I think we kept going for like 30 minutes, but after 5 minutes, I was like, okay, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't miss this anymore. I'm ready to be done. So, I don't know. I do plan on having a garden someday when we have our own place, but just a small one. And mostly just so that we can enjoy the fresh vegetables. But yeah, it would be nice to just go into the basement and just take out things as you need them instead of running to the store every time. That would be very nice. And honestly, it wouldn't be bad for a small family, right? Because like the only experience I have of that is with a large family, and I hated it then. But maybe that would change if it was just, for the two of us. But anyway, that's everything for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about our fall season back home and how different it is from the falls out here. I hope you guys have a good fall, and I will see you guys later. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to hear more of my story. And also follow me on TikTok at IdaMachiva1 and on Instagram at IdaChooseHappiness. I will be posting videos and answering some questions on both of those platforms as well.